We're driving a Volkswagen Atlas. It's a 3-row midsize family SUV and it's been refreshed for 2024. Coming up, I'm going to share the funniest number I've ever seen in a spec sheet. What a terrible tease that is. But first, interior.
Oftentimes, interiors fall into the category of practical or good looking, and I think this is both.
Practical and good looking. My ears are burning.
Well, now I'm about to complain about the interior. You want to keep...
Also fair.
The extensive use of shiny black plastic. I feel if they chose any other material, this whole thing would be elevated.
As long as you keep your Atlas in a hermetically sealed tomb, then you won't have to worry about any of the dust and fingerprints we're dealing with. And heaven help you if you moisturize your hands while living in the dry mountains.
I really appreciate all the small storage in here. Like this phone zone is so practically laid out.
2 cup holders immediately behind it. Center console storage is not excessively deep, but you could put something substantial in there.
And there's a spot for your flying eyes sunglasses. Generous sauce pocket in all 4 doors. Door storage is generous enough. I challenge you to find a bottle that won't fit there.
You know, most of our viewers are in America, right? There's a very good chance there'll be an oversized novelty beverage that will not fit there. In which case, you can use this under console storage space. Hoarders welcome. And yes, we will have a few more thoughts about the sleek design and the implications related to the infotainment system a little bit later. Oh, I just discovered it has gesture controls. Go that way. Moving to the seats.
The seats feel comfortable. They're very adjustable. I'm only 5'2", so having height adjustability is so nice. The one thing I do wonder is how they might fare on a long journey because they're on the firm side.
Agreed, though I do like the fact that I've got adequate lateral support. It's holding me in the shoulder region here.
Ooh, I love the piping on these seats.
Yes, we are driving the fanciest possible version because that's the one they had for us to borrow. We have the 7-passenger version. There's also a 6-passenger version, which is available, I think, on the SE Tech package and above, in case you want second-row captain's chairs. Paying off the tease in the beginning of the video, when looking at the configurator on VW.com and going into the specifications, they have all of their numbers spelled out to the 1,000th decimal point. Do you know what the occupant capacity is of the Volkswagen Atlas?
I do not.
7.000 humans.
Huh. Makes it sound like they've been hauling torsos around.
So when you load up your Volkswagen Atlas with 7.000 people, you'll appreciate the second row. The second rows slide and recline to a good degree, and then access to the third row through the second row is really, really good. The release goes in both directions. The whole thing tilts forward so you don't have to remove a child seat if one is installed. As an average 5'10" man, I fit great in the second row and I fit well in the third row. And the foot to butt ratio is good. Unlike some mid-size 3-row SUVs, capacity does tap out at 7.000 humans. So there's not a 3-passenger third row seat, but because they've limited it to 2 passengers, lateral space in the third row is also generous. Oh, and in the second row, I think that middle position is a very comfortable spot. I actually like that it's not perfectly flat, it's slightly raised, because odds are whoever's sitting in the middle there is going to have short legs, so it makes it a little easier for them to actually touch down.
As for cargo space, behind the third row there are 20.6 cubic feet of space, which is actually great. Is that great?
It is great, yes. Plenty of space behind the third row for your gear. There's a little bit of underfloor space, but what I really like about the underfloor area, there's also pass-through space if you have the optional cargo cover to store it beneath that load floor. And then lowering the third row seats, quick release, flops right down, and it creates a very flat load floor. One thing to keep in mind is that you need to pull those seats back up with a strap, and if you want to have access to them, make sure the strap Velcro is attached to the back of the seat back. Otherwise, you're going to have to really reach in there and look all awkward on camera. There are no second row releases from the cargo area. That would be a nice thing to have, but going around the side and releasing them, again, very flat load floor. You could definitely like load this thing up with like a flat screen TV or something like that, and it would fit no problem. Kiddo, how do you find climbing in and out of the Volkswagen Atlas?
Extremely easy because it's very low.
Not only is it low, but I also noticed that the door entry is pretty narrow. You get into the vehicle very easily. One last third row thought, I do wish the seat backs were adjustable, but it's still a pretty comfortable position. What about getting the car seat installed?
The latch points in the second row, you can't see them. They're kind of nestled in there, but I had no problems installing the car seat.
As for safety, the Atlas performs very, very well. IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus, 5-star rated overall from the NHTSA, and a ton of active safety features. Automatic emergency braking with pedestrian and bicyclist detection, lane keeping assist, there's an exit warning feature so you don't open your door into an oncoming car. Blind spot warning is also standard, as are 6 airbags, plus lane keeping assist. Family, what do we think? Is the Volkswagen Atlas family friendly?
Family friendly.
Yeah, very family friendly. Rear window test. You're still doing rock exercises? Carry on. Armrest test. Neither of my elbows want to touch down with the armrest. I could lower this, but then this high dash is going to make it hard for me to see out. Got a pretty good squish factor, and even though they're stitching here, it's not too abrasive. Outboard, that also is fairly yielding. I'm going to go 65% inboard, 65% outboard. Hey, would you like to see more videos like this where we review cars as a family, plus the occasional helicopter adventure? If so, you are welcome to subscribe, and if you really like our videos and you want to have early access to them, consider joining our channel. Forward to style! The Atlas has been updated for 2024. They've refreshed the front end styling. We're also driving the R-Line version, which is the fanciest one, and it has unique front and rear fascias.
I noticed that you put the word brawny and handsome in the outline, and I cannot think of something better to describe it.
Again, I was talking about myself, but if that does cross apply to the Atlas, no, I think by proportion, it has a good stance to it.
When you view it from the side, it is visually distinct in a way most 3-row SUVs are not. That line that goes all the way down the side, I feel like that might be a little polarizing, but at least it's unique.
Yeah, it is very sculpted from the side. LED lighting comes standard and it's adaptive. And in the press release, Volkswagen talks about how many lumens the headlights put out. I'm like, if you're calling out the lumen output, then those are probably pretty solid headlights. True enough, driving this thing around at nighttime, good nighttime illumination. New for 2024 is the Peak Edition, which is the more rugged rendition of Atlas. It's not that rugged. It has the exact same ground clearance as a standard Atlas, but it does have all-terrain tires, and it looks a little more rugged. Disconcertingly, they describe that ground clearance as 6.9 inches, including flexible parts. I'm like, what are you talking about? And 6.9 inches in the world of SUVs is not a lot of ground clearance. So if you are going to venture onto trails, do so with some caution. One last style note, if you want to save $1,000 on the base price, you can get the Atlas Cross Sport, which is kind of like the Atlas except strictly 5 passengers and has a sleeker roofline. Overall, we feel pretty positive about the Atlas's styling, but what do you think? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Tell us in the comments. Onward to In Motion. The big news for 2024 is the engine. Camera stopped working. Where were we? Oh yes, the engine. So we got a new 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, and it's just as powerful, almost. It's like within 7 horsepower of the VR6, and similarly efficient to the old 4-cylinder, but way more powerful than that. If I had a couple complaints, one, it sounds kind of rough to me. Kind of like that mid-range growl that you get from like a 3-cylinder or something. And then I've also noticed it feels maybe a little jumpy. There's just some odd behavior when you're driving at slow speeds. The engine note is a little more present than a lot of other SUVs we've driven recently, and so that's either a good thing, it's like, oh, I'm glad to hear the engine doing its thing, or it's like, why am I hearing the engine so much? The transmission is an 8-speed automatic, quick shifts, generally speaking smooth, though I've noticed as soon as you start to tip into the accelerator, it's very quick to give you a downshift. It goes back to how you interpret behavior. Oh, the vehicle feels really responsive, or it feels kind of nervous, like it's always like shifting gears. As far as ride quality, I think it handles bumps well. At high speed over like undulating bumps, there is a slightly unsettled quality, like the body wants to keep moving, but overall a comfortable ride. In terms of steering behavior, it does turn, but it is not fun to steer. All right, that's what I think, but what does Sweetie think? Evie's at the wheel. We have an unusual shifter here. It's kind of vestigial.
I found this really easy to use, and I think the fact that it's shaped in an unusual way makes me pay it more attention.
It's a very simple to operate control, and then park is a separate unit, so you know if you're doing shifty stuff or parky stuff.
It's cute.
Yay! Feel like you got enough power to get out ahead of traffic?
I really do. This sound comes in really aggressively too, which makes me feel like, yeah, it's working hard. We're getting there.
How do you find steering this thing?
I'm not particular in the way that you are. You really notice when things aren't quite right. Even I notice this is kind of unusual steering behavior. It feels exceptionally light, even in sport mode. I feel like I have to input a lot to get the output I want.
By steering ratio, it's not the slowest steering car we've driven recently. That might be the CX-90, very slow steering on that one. This one has a kind of a middle of the road steering ratio, but I think the way it steers has this elastic quality, and it doesn't give you that immediacy perhaps that you would hope for. Does it feel like a big SUV?
This does drive like a smaller SUV. I don't feel overwhelmed by the sheer scale of it.
Do you feel like you got an okay view out?
There is a lot of hood in my view. Other than that, the windows are large and I feel like visibility over both shoulders is great.
If you were in the market to buy a mid-size 3-row family SUV, would you feel comfortable driving a Volkswagen Atlas?
Absolutely.
That's pretty strong praise. I'm getting back in the driver's seat. Overall, the Volkswagen Atlas is not joyful to drive, but that is not its strong suit. What is its strength? We're going to explain in remarks. Remark number 1, infotainment. This is not the strength we were going to talk about.
Instead of knobs or buttons, they have sliders.
These little capacitive sliders on the bottom here.
At night, you can't see them. And if you try to use this as an anchor to operate the infotainment, you're just messing with the controls.
We don't need to belabor the awkwardness of this capacitive
But I already have.
Other people have noted it, and so we will too. This is not ideal. What about the actual infotainment system itself?
I do prefer when the icons have different colors according to their function because I find that easier to operate out of the corner of my eye when I'm driving, but it is simple to use the infotainment.
One more complexity though with the infotainment setup is that everything's kind of in there. So if you want to change the drive modes, you have to push this little button down here, and it's a capacitive button so you don't get any feedback when you do it, and then you can pull up your different drive modes here.
I actually liked the drive mode selector because normally you have to use a toggle or a button and kind of click through the different options. Here, you can go from eco to off-road with just 2 button pushes.
Or you cannot have to do any of that stuff and just have a rotary knob and then just rotate to the one you want.
I found this quicker.
What about climate control? You have to hit the Clima button and then go into classic climate and then interface with the screen.
That I did find difficult because perhaps you just want to hit max AC. That's one button normally. One thing I do really like about the climate is these smart climate controls. Sometimes I have difficulty figuring things out, and here it makes it so obvious. Warm feet, clear view.
Make warm, sweetie cold. So a bit of a mixed bag in terms of usability, but I like the fact that this 12-inch screen comes standard, as does Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which are both wireless. I like the optional 360-degree camera system because you can just touch on the screen and it'll automatically highlight the front, the back, or the sides of the vehicle. And if you appreciate unparalleled visibility, you might like Flying Eye sunglasses. They feature scratch-resistant polycarbonate lenses for enduring clarity. They're also lightweight and incredibly durable thanks to their patented Resilimide construction. Whether you're a pilot or not, if you want quality eyewear that's built to last, click the link in the description below, use the promo code Micah, and you can save 10% on Flying Eyes. Over here we've got a standard 10.25-inch digital gauge cluster, a few different views, so you can kind of customize the information being fed to you. And now it's our daughter's time to shine. Kiddo, can you share what is your favorite feature of the Volkswagen Atlas?
All the storage in the doors to store rocks there. If you were a child like me who loves to collect rocks.
Theoretically, if you weren't a child who collects rocks, you could put other things in that door storage. And that was Kiddo's favorite feature. All right, let's talk engine choices. The 2023 Volkswagen Atlas offered a base 2-liter turbocharged engine or a 3.6-liter VR6 engine, both replaced by a new 2-liter inline 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. That 4-cylinder can tow up to 5,000 pounds, and you'll get all the power you need out of it with regular fuel.
Sweet.
Yes.
Can you share our trim recommendation?
Right, I can. Our trim recommendation is which trim will give you the essential features you would regret not getting, but at the lowest possible price. We're going to recommend the base $37,995 trim. It includes leatherette seating, 3-zone climate control, that 12-inch screen, 6 USB ports, heated and ventilated front seats, a power driver's seat with adjustable lumbar support, a heated steering wheel, and travel assist, hands-on steering and acceleration assist. If you're on the freeway, that's pretty convenient. Plus keyless access on all 5 doors. It's all the essential features you'd want and then some. That is an Atlas strength. Also standard for the Atlas, free maintenance for 2 years or 20,000 miles. And for the overall vehicle warranty, it's 4 years and 50,000 miles. If you're ready to buy a Volkswagen Atlas of your very own, use the Kelley Blue Book pricing link in the description below to know how much you should spend on an Atlas and how much your current car is worth. As for competitors, big names include the Kia Telluride, Honda Pilot, Hyundai Palisade, or Toyota Grand Highlander. Did we miss any remarks? If so, tell us in the comment section. Synopsis! In thinking about the essence of the Volkswagen Atlas, it is not the best in all regards, but you do get a lot for your dollar. To us, it is the Golden Corral of mid-sized 3-row family SUVs. It's a buffet if you don't have a Golden Corral near you. Family, I think we've done a good job reviewing the Volkswagen Atlas. May I have a 5 and a 5, and you. Come get your high five. Bam! Exercising with your rocks.